Right now, you are thinking about tomorrow. Maybe it is something small. What you will eat. Whether traffic will be bad. Maybe it is something larger. A conversation you need to have. A plan you are building toward. A version of yourself that does not exist yet. You do this so naturally that it feels like breathing. But it is one of the strangest things any creature on this planet has ever done. Most animals cannot do it at all. A lion does not plan next Tuesday. A crow does not imagine its life in 5 years. A dog does not lie awake rehearsing a difficult conversation. Nearly every creature that has ever lived on this planet exists almost entirely in the present moment. Sensation, reaction, now, and then there was you, and everything changed. Cognitive scientist Thomas Suddendorf has spent his career studying what he calls mental time travel, the ability to project your mind forward into events that have not happened yet, to simulate futures, to rehearse outcomes, to plan. He argues this capacity is one of the defining features of the human mind. Not language, not tools, not fire. The ability to leave the present and visit a time that does not yet exist. But here is the question nobody asks. When did this start? Was there a moment, somewhere deep in human prehistory, when a mind first looked up from the immediate present and reached forward into the future? And what did that cost? The answer is stranger than you expect. For most of human evolutionary history, life was radically immediate. Your ancestors responded to what was in front of them. Hunger, predators, weather. The present was everything, because the present was all that mattered for survival. There was no advantage to imagining next year if you could not survive tonight. Then something shifted. Archaeologists call it the cognitive revolution. Around 70,000 years ago, the behavioral record of early humans changes dramatically. Before this point, tools are simple, repetitive, barely improved over tens of thousands of years. After this point, tools become specialized. Art appears. Burial rituals appear. Long-distance trade appears. People are making objects that have no immediate survival function. Objects that only make sense if you are thinking about something beyond the present moment. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham points to fire as a possible catalyst. Cooking food dramatically increased calorie absorption, which may have fueled the expansion of the brain regions involved in planning and simulation. Bigger brains capable of richer internal worlds. But brains that now needed feeding constantly. Yuval Noah Harari describes the cognitive revolution as the point when humans began living inside shared fictions. Stories about gods, tribes, futures, and promises. None of these things exist in the physical world. They exist only inside minds. But the ability to hold a shared imagined future turned small bands of humans into coordinated groups capable of acting together across time. You plant a seed today because you can imagine a harvest 3 months from now. You build a shelter in summer because you can simulate the experience of winter. You form an alliance with a stranger because you can project a future in which that relationship matters. Every single one of those acts requires something extraordinary. It requires you to hold a version of reality that does not exist yet and treat it as if it does. And that is where the cost begins to show. Because the same brain that can simulate a hopeful future can simulate a catastrophic one. The same machinery that lets you plan a celebration can run rehearsals of failure at 3 in the morning. Suddendorf calls this the dark side of mental time travel. You are the only creature on Earth that can lie awake worrying about something that has not happened yet and may never happen at all. Your ancestors who were better at simulating futures survived more often. The ones who imagined that the rustling in the grass might be a predator, who planned for the dry season before it arrived, who rehearsed the hunt before it happened. These were the survivors. Their genes are your genes. But the simulation engine does not come with an off switch. Neuroscientist Daniel Schachter at Harvard has studied what he calls the default mode network, the brain system that activates when you are not focused on any immediate task, when your mind wanders, when you daydream, when you lie in bed before sleep. This network, which burns enormous amounts of energy, is almost entirely devoted to one activity, simulating things that are not happening right now. Past regrets, future worries, alternative versions of events, imagined conversations. Your brain at rest is not resting at all. It is running futures. Schachter found that this same network is also responsible for imagination, creativity, empathy, and long-term planning. The system that generates anxiety and the system that generates your greatest ideas are the same. You cannot have one without the other. This is the trade your ancestors made, though they never knew they were making it. A mind that could reach into the future. A mind that could never fully return to the present. Think about what this means for the way you live now. Every source of chronic stress in your life is almost certainly future-based. Not the present moment itself, which is usually manageable, but a simulated future in which things go wrong. The bill that is not due yet. The conversation that has not happened yet. The outcome you cannot control but cannot stop rehearsing. You are stressed by events that do not exist. That is not a weakness. That is your ancestral planning engine running at full power with nowhere useful to go. And yet this same capacity is why you can read these words and imagine a different version of your life. Why you can set a goal and work toward it across months and years. Why art exists. Why science exists. Why any civilization exists at all. Suddendorf describes the human mind as a time machine that runs constantly. Forward to hoped-for futures, backward to remembered pasts. The present for a human being is actually quite thin. A narrow strip of now surrounded on all sides by simulation. Other animals live wide in the present. You live wide in time. There was a moment, deep in prehistory, when a human mind first looked up at the horizon and saw not what was there but what might be there. Not the plain as it was, but the plain as it could become. Not the season as it stood, but the season as it would arrive. That mind changed everything. It built the world you live in. It imagined the future so clearly and so persistently that the future eventually arrived. And right now, in this moment, that same mind is running inside your skull. Reaching forward, simulating, planning, worrying, hoping, just like it always has, since the moment humans first invented tomorrow.